What's up guys, Tim here from Audio Tutor. So let me paint a picture for you. It's 11 p.m. and you've just got home from a party and you've grabbed your guitar or your instrument of choice and you've got this great idea for a song, and within 20 minutes you have written this amazing chorus that is the best thing ever, the best thing you've ever written. It's great, right? 20 minutes after that you're humming the pre-chorus tune, so you've got a pre-chorus and a chorus, and then by 2 a.m. you've got verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, and you're like, man, it's time for bed, I have the best song ever, right? And then a few days later, it's Sunday afternoon, and you go, okay, I'm going to finish this song. And so you grab your phone and you look at your voice notes that you recorded, or you flick through the lyrics or whatever, and you're playing it on your guitar, and you're like, this is great, verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, and now I better finish it. So, verse 2, here we go, verse 2. Verse 2. And the problem is that you are not in the same headspace that you were when you first had all these amazing inspirations to write this song, all right? So you're going to struggle to get verse 2 written because you're not feeling the same way. That spark of energy when you come up with a new idea is no longer there because it's now a few days later, and you're like, that was cool the other night when I wrote that, but now it's not the same feeling and it's not the same time. All right, so today we're talking about verse 2, and I've got a great little nugget of information for you. There's 4 steps. It's 4 steps or 4 tips. It's the YouTube thing I've got to do. 4 tips, right? That'll be the thumbnail, I'm sure. So 4 tips to get you writing verse 2, to get you inspired again, to get all the juices flowing again. I always find that verse 2 is like the hardest part. I write the rest of the song, everything's ready. Some of my projects even have everything recorded apart from verse 2 is missing. So I've got a great tip for you to get you going on verse 2. In the meantime, before we get into that, I'll just tell you about my ebook. Maybe you're writing this awesome song and it sounds really good and you're loving it and you're like, all right, I really want to record this, but you don't have a clue how to get going in that department or anything like that. What equipment do you need? You don't know anything like that. That's fine. What I've got for you is an absolutely free ebook. It's 25 pages long. Absolutely free, and it's got all of that equipment you're going to need to get started recording and mixing on an affordable budget. This is really aimed at like the home studio owner, the people who can't afford to spend 10 grand on a microphone. Believe me, it's out there. It's out there. I've been in studios myself where we've had microphone discussions and they've been like, well, this one we're recording on today was 10,300 and such, and I'm like, that seems a bit ridiculous to me, but all right, whatever. You know, so this book is really aimed at the home studio owner. It's affordable stuff. It's great equipment that I use to this day. Some of it I still use to this day. So check it out. Just there's a link under my face somewhere. Click that link and put in your email address so I can send you that awesome ebook. It's really going to help you out, help you get all that equipment down. All right, I'm going to grab my guitar. We're going to head over to the couch over there behind us and get going on this tip. Alrighty guys, so here is the song so far. When I look up at the stars and the moon, I can't believe you're finally mine. And someone said it's autumn soon. I watch your eyes turn brown from blue. It was a long road to walk on, a long road. And now here in our home I choke on the story we left behind. And when I look down to your hand in mine, I can't believe I was gone so soon. We shared but only one night sky, just 2 lost lovers howling at the moon. all right? And then we're going to go into verse 2. But I don't have a verse 2, and that's the problem, right? So that's what we're talking about here. How do we get the inspiration to jump back into that? We're clearly in this, deep emotional moment. I was obviously in a place when I wrote this song, and then when I came back to it a few days later, I wasn't in that place anymore, and I'm trying to think, how do we continue that story with verse 2? So now I've got 4 awesome tips for you. You can use these tips you can use them together, some of them actually, but there are 4 separate tips that you can use to get you back in the flow, to get you inspired again to write verse 2. So, tip 1 is variation of the melody. All right, so what can we do to vary the melody? Well, our verse in this, technically, I think the way the structure of this song is going to be, what I just sang for you was the verse 1, then a pre-chorus, and then the chorus is very similar melody to the verse. The verse goes like this. When I look up at the stars and the moon, I can't believe you're finally mine. And someone said it's autumn soon. What am I doing there? I watch your eyes turn brown from blue. Alright, so it's just 4 lines. When I look up at the stars and the moon, I can't believe you're finally mine. And someone said it's autumn soon. I'll watch your eyes turn brown from blue. Alright, so the first thing we do here, the first tip, as I was saying, first tip is variation on that melody. So how can we change that melody? Let's look at that first line. When I look up at the stars and the moon. All right, so for verse 2, what we could do is we could just change that melody a little bit, maybe kind of style it out a little bit. We feel like we've heard that melody before, so we want to change it up. We could do, and so when I look up at the stars and the moon, taking out that jump, and then just kind of styling it out a bit, so changing the melody. So that's a simple option. You could try all sorts of things, but variation on the melody is tip 1. Tip 2 is variation on the phrasing. So by phrasing, I kind of mean rhythm as well. So it's kind of phrasing of the words, but the rhythm of the line as well. So again, and I kind of did it already there when I changed the melody. And when I look up at the stars and the moon, right? So I've changed the phrasing and the rhythm of that line, rather than it being quite straight. When I look up at the stars and the moon. Now it's, and so when I look up at the stars and the moon. All right, so I'm kind of changing up the melody and changing up the phrasing and the rhythm as well. Tip number 3 is, you might have guessed this one, changing a word, changing at least one word in verse 2, all right? Generally, we usually look at verse 2 and say, all right, it's all different words. It doesn't have to be. It could be similar, but you're just changing a word here and there. So for this example, the easiest one to look at is, for that first line, we could go, when I look up at the stars and the moon. The easiest one to change usually is the last word on the line, right? So moon, we could change moon to something that rhymes with moon, if you want. Part B to tip 3 is to emphasize the message that you already had in verse 1. So in verse 1, in that first line, we were talking about when I look up at the stars and the moon. So we're talking about looking up at a night sky. So you could change some wording to emphasize that same message. So when I look up, I see Mars and the moon. All right. So it's emphasizing that same message, but you're just changing up some of the words to kind of emphasize that we're looking up at the night sky. All right. So that is tip number 3. Tip number 4 is kind of the opposite of that, and it's what I would call juxtaposition. So juxtaposition, or you could even call it opposition. Essentially, what I mean by that is look at what is the opposite of what I said in verse 1. So in verse 1, we're still looking at this first line. When I look up at the stars and the moon. Well, we're talking about looking at the night sky. So we could, what would be the opposite of that? It might be something like looking at the daytime, or when I see the sunrise, or something like that. So now we're talking about daytime. So we could change, verse 2 could be, And when I look up, I see the sun that shines, or something. That's a terrible lyric, but you see what I mean. It opens this door as well to, you can swap out any word in any line, you can swap out for the opposite. What's the exact opposite of what I was saying? To kind of take you on the dark side for verse 2. So if we look at the rest of this verse, you know, in the third line we've got, and someone said it's autumn soon. So we're talking about autumn. Well, instead of autumn, we could talk about the opposite of autumn, which is spring. So we could say, someone told me it was springtime soon, or something like that, all right? So we're kind of changing up the feel, and what that does is really takes it in a different direction for verse 2. Oh, last thing, I have an ebook. I think I said in the start of this video, now I can't remember, but I do have an ebook. If you've got this song down and you're like, man, thanks for that tip, I've got verse 2 sorted now, my song sounds awesome, but I don't know how to record it, I don't know what equipment I need to start recording, well, that's fine, because I've actually got a free ebook that I will give to you for free from the kindness of my soul. For you to check out. It's 25 pages long, and it's got all of the equipment you'll need to get started recording and mixing in your bedroom, in your garage, wherever you are. It's recommendations, there's prices on there, there's little hints and tips about things like monitors and stuff like that. There's even a chart at the back so you can keep track of your spending and your budgeting and that sort of thing. So it's a great little book. There's a link under my face somewhere. If you click that link, then it will take you to a page, and you just put in your email address so that I can send it to you, and then I will send it to you, and then you can enjoy it. All right, have a great one. Enjoy writing music. Music is awesome. It's an amazing art in the world, and it means a lot.